Ellettsville Town Council, Monday, November 23rd, 2020. Sandy, you want a roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Here.
Scott Oldham, William Ellis,
Here.
Trevor Sager,
Here.
and Pamela Samples.
Here.
Okay. Mike Cornwell, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wanted you to check and see if that printer was going yet.
Thank you, Mike. Sandy, Scott Oldham has just joined us.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Jimmy Darnell, would you like to lead us in the prayer?
Yes, sir. Our Heavenly Father, we pause just one more time to thank you so much for this many blessings you bestowed in this little town. We thank you for all the wonderful workers we have, our school board members, and we want to be very thankful during this Thanksgiving season. Be with these councilmen this evening as they move forward on these issues and make the best decisions for the town. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Okay, first thing on the agenda is the minutes. I'd entertain a motion for approval of minutes of the regular meeting, November 9th, 2020, and the special session, November 17th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any council comment?
Well, I wasn't at the special session, so I can't vote on that. Can we separate those since?
Sure. So, who made the motion, Scott?
Yeah, I would move that we approve the minutes for the regular meeting, and I don't remember the date.
November the 9th.
As Sandy says.
And Trevor, you still second?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any further council comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, then we'll separate it. The special session, November 17th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any council comment? Any public comment? Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Abstain.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next thing, action to pay accounts payable, vouchers, and payroll. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any
Who
council
was the
comment?
second? Who was the second, please?
Trevor.
Thank you.
Any council comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, resolution 26-2020, master lease agreement to finance Pierce Saber fire engine with equipment. Mike Corman, you want to give us kind of a little
Sure.
quick analogy of this?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Dan. This resolution before you tonight is a standard resolution whenever a municipality intends to secure funds from a financial institution. Standard it may be, but it is a big deal. The resolution outlines that the town to borrow money from the PNC group for the town to purchase a new fire engine with the related equipment. The resolution will lock in the amount along with a 2.48% interest rate for 6 years. The pumper itself will not exceed $529,800. The loose equipment will not exceed $106,225.08. we are receiving a prepaid discount of $12,365 because PNC is formerly Oshkosh Capital. Oshkosh owns the Pierce Fire Truck Manufacturing Company. The down payment will be $55,000, and that is all included in the resolution. As a reminder, the Richland Township trustee will be providing these funds for payment as outlined in the supplemental fire service agreements. The resolution is a similar format we have used for the last 4 fire engines the town has purchased. So I hope you take my recommendation to approve resolution 26-2020 by title only, along with naming myself and town manager Michael Farmer as the official signatories for the documents as requested in the resolution. This also fits in with our town code on purchasing. This is also at the recommendation of our legal counsel, Darla Brown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 26-2020 master lease agreement to finance Pierce Saber fire engine with equipment.
A second.
Motion and second. Any council questions, comments? Any public comment?
Oh, yeah,
Seeing none,
that's not
Sandy?
what I need. Throw that away.
Sandy, roll call, please.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pam Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
I
Thank
just
you,
want to
Mike.
make sure, I need to make sure that the signatories were included for myself and Michael Farmer, or if that's good enough for Darla. So
Darla, are you fine with that?
Yeah, I am. I think it would be helpful if there's a separate vote to appoint Mike Corman and Mike Farmer as the authorized representatives for purposes of negotiating the contract.
Okay, is there a motion to approve Mike Corman and Mike Farmer?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any council comment? Any public comment? Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Looking forward to seeing it. Okay, ordinances on first reading, there is none. Ordinances on second reading. Ordinance 2020-26, 2021 salary ordinance. Sandy?
Well, this salary ordinance, this is the second reading. I have, asked the supervisors to look it over and double check on it. I haven't heard anything back from anyone. So that's it.
Okay.
It's as
Any-
presented.
Any further discussion on the salary ordinance?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Which do we, what do we have differs in position? Gosh, I'm trying to get my tongue untied. How does this differ from what was recommended from the WIS study? Do we have any positions that differ?
There are a few that are slightly different.
Okay, and what positions are those?
Well, in the study, the fire chief and the police chief were not exactly the same. So at budget time, we discussed, making them the same, and the same with the utility supervisor and the street department supervisor. They were a little off, so we pulled those in to equal the same. And I thought we talked about that at budget time. And then the other one was the deputy clerk's position.
Was this the chief deputy clerk?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, my recommend, just kind of, I think I've told council members, but for the public, I recommend that when we do these studies, if we deviate, we discuss the other ones, but I think we should, we have to get away from thinking these wages are attached to a person. These are positions. It's more of forward thinking for myself. And it's what companies and stuff and other municipalities do. So the fact, if we do this because one person's doing extra without actually reclassifying the job, then when that person leaves, somebody else is going to get the same salary if we're following the same procedures. I trust our current supervisors to do a great job. We're not only that, we're not always going to have the same people and the same employees. And unfortunately, I think having that structure with the wage study takes any emotion of this person does this job or this person does that job, comparing the two, and strictly compares it to what their duties are to other places. So I will be voting no on the salary ordinance.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I would move that we pass the 2021 salary ordinance.
Second.
Motion and second. Any council comment, question?
Who is the second, please?
Trevor.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
This may be totally unrelated, but how does the salary ordinance correlate to or have anything to do with the study that was contracted to come in, the independent company that came in for $25,000 to do job descriptions and salary recommendations to level out and compare with other municipalities of our size?
The salary
Okay.
ordinance follows the wage study completely, except for the 3 positions earlier mentioned.
Okay.
And it also correlates with our
go ahead.
budget. Go ahead, William.
No, it's Michael Farmer.
Oh, sorry.
To answer Pam's question, the wage study was used to determine where we stood as far as how we pay our help and how competitive we are with other municipalities and towns. And it allows us to make decisions that keep us competitive and retain our help. So the wage study, as it turned out, from a 30,000 foot level, was very helpful. It bore out some of the things and how we relate to our employees and what they do to the wage they're getting. It kind of fell into place with our thinking up till now. And so it was a good exercise for $25,000 to find out that we were heading in the right place, and we indeed, to stay competitive and retain our help, needed to make some adjustments in our salary ordinance. And so we took it, we took it serious. We tried to give them as much information as we could. And I think the process worked really well. So it had a lot to do with the salary ordinance this year. To say that from 30,000 feet, they understood everything about how we work and the intricacies that it entails and things that are on the ground level that they might have missed. That we think that happened to some extent. And so with what we know and our institutional knowledge, and with the wage study behind our, that supported us, that's how we made the decisions we did about our salary ordinance this year. So the exercise was very good. I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't sure we needed a wage study, but I thought it was very successful, and I think our salary ordinance this year will be very successful in helping retain the excellent employees we now have and pay them correctly for the good work they do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Valerie, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. I'm pleased to see that there was some use made of that study.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions?
Yeah, I want to make one quick comment, Dan. Just
Sure.
kind of forward on what Mike said. Some of the positions that were outlined tonight that are, remember when we started this salary study, it was really pre-COVID. Have taken on new roles in order for us to strengthen the town, care of the mission critical jobs. So, if we were to say the position pays X, that's great. And William is absolutely right when he talks about us needing to rewrite a couple of the positions, kind of their job descriptions, as it were. But we didn't get around to that quickly enough. But we did want to recognize that several of the people are now taking on a lot more responsibility to help us establish that redundancy so that if something does happen, the town can continue forward with little to no bobble whatsoever. And there's enough people to make sure the mission critical functions can be achieved. So yeah, we need to go back and rework some of the job descriptions. Absolutely, William. But I'll support this one based upon, again, the on the ground knowledge of what's going on that, quite frankly, the people who did the study didn't have the pleasure of back when they started the study.
I would also say if those would have been reclassified as new positions, I would have definitely voted yes and fully endorsed this. I really think going forward, we need to have a conversation with contracting WIS that when a situation like this arises, we bump it to them and then they score it. Again, our current supervisors are very capable of doing this on their own because the study pretty much nailed, it verified that our salaries were pretty competitive and they were right in the zone. But we're not always going to have the same people there, and not everybody has the skill set of the people that we currently have. So everything I'm doing is, like I said, planning for the future, and it's no reflection of the employees or what they do. And
Thank you, William. And I might add too that we can still make changes later. We can always amend the salary ordinance. We still have a couple months before the end of the year and before the salary ordinance takes effect. So if we wanted to work on the job descriptions and modify that, we still have plenty of time to do that. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, any further comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
no.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, ordinance 2020-27 to amend various selections of chapter 152 and 153 of the Ellettsville Town Code. Who is this?
This is Kevin.
Kevin?
Thank you. There'll be two ordinances tonight on text amendments. This is the first one, which is mostly just housekeeping items that I want to get taken care of. I'll go through these pretty quickly, so please stop me if you have any questions. The first of these is to add accessory dwelling units as a special exception in residential zones. Currently, we don't address accessory dwelling units at all. We've had several requests about it and no real clear path on how to proceed with those. This gives the path of going through the Board of Zoning Appeals. Second item, under blight and public nuisance, we have abandoned vehicles described in one section and then again in the blight and public nuisance section. This just takes it out of the second section. They had two different time frames. One is for, I think, a month. This one was for 14 days. I think we had changed the one previously to a month a year or two ago. So this would take out any conflict.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, the third item deals with sign permit approval processes. It really doesn't change anything. It just kind of clarified for Denise and myself how many days are allowed in approving permits and asking for a complete application. I don't think it actually changed the timeline. It just clarified it. And the final item on this ordinance deals with cul-de-sac radius. This is actually in our subdivision regulations, and in different spots, sections 153.079 and 153.081 gives guidelines for the size of cul-de-sacs. And the part I'm asking to be amended, which is 153.074, it states that cul-de-sac should have an 80-foot radius, which seemed abnormally large and in conflict to the other two sections. So I just recommended that that part be removed. And that is all for this ordinance.
Okay.
Also, real quick, this did go through Planning Commission and received a favorable recommendation by a 7-0 vote.
Okay, and Kevin, for clarification, because it went to the Planning Commission, is that why this ordinance is on second reading instead of first?
Correct. The Planning Commission is considered first reading for text amendments.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that for everyone. All right, any further discussion on this?
I got a question about the cul-de-sacs. So what are you recommending, Kevin, for size?
I don't have the other section in front of me, but it's already defined what size they should be in sections 153.079 and 153.081. It gives different sizes for the collector local streets.
Okay, so I guess a question would then for the fire chief is reducing the size of the cul-de-sac amenable to you? Because some of those trucks, it's almost like going down a dead end as opposed to being able to turn around and get the equipment oriented appropriately.
We certainly would have to make sure it meets the current fire code, and the current fire code says it has to meet the distances for our longest fire apparatus, which is our aerial truck. So I'm sorry I wasn't aware that it was, and I didn't take the time to read it. It's on me. So, but I did take a look at it a little further to see, if it fits in with the current fire code.
I think our typical cul-de-sac radius or typical cul-de-sac size are 80 to 100 foot diameter. The code I'm asking to be taken out is an 80-foot radius, which would work out to 160-foot diameter, and I think it's twice the size of any cul-de-sac we have in town right now.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-27 to amend various sections in chapters 152 and 153 of the Ellettsville Town Code.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any council comment, questions?
Yes. On the, I guess, well, no, I'm on the wrong ordinance. Never mind. We're good.
All right. Any public comment? Russ?
Good evening. I wonder if we shouldn't wait and let Mike advise us what the length of his biggest truck is so that we can set a minimum that at least covers that. Or are we going to leave ourselves without any minimum?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure, go ahead, darling.
I'm still at the office, so I suggest that you go on to the next item on the agenda, and I will go look up 153-079 and 153-081 right now. So at least you know, okay?
Okay, thank you, Darla. All right, seeing that, we will move on and we will pick it back up with discussion on that ordinance. So we will jump to ordinance 2020-28 to amend section 152-363 of Ellettsville Town Code regarding fees for various permits and applications. Kevin?
Yes, getting my notes together for this. All right, this was the primary reason why I brought the group of text amendments before you tonight. We did pass a fee schedule earlier this year, and since then there's been a couple of things I noticed that were omitted, which I wanted to correct. And the other big factor was I'd ask for, and this kind of goes back to our budget, I'd ask for an increase in our budget for, I believe it's publications or advertisements, for the purpose of sending out the legal notices and or the certified mail out of our office directly. Currently, the applicants do that on their own. We'd had some issues with it this year with things being timely sent out, and it seemed to be easier if I took care of that myself. In doing so, I had requested for some of the filing fees to be raised to cover the cost of mailing and publishing, which currently are paid by the applicant. So that was a primary driver. I'll go through these. I think there are 4 basic categories. The first was the BZA and Plan Commission filing fees. I did also look at what we charge compared to Monroe County and Bloomington and just kind of get an idea of where our filing fees fell. So for a few of these, I recommended more than a $50 increase. $50 was to cover the notices. For appeals and use variances, which on average run about $100 to $200 higher than ours and the rest of the county, even with the increase. Also for development plans and planned unit developments, we were, just to give you a brief number on that, we charge $150 for development plan filing. Monroe County charges oh wait, that's the wrong one. They charge $750 plus a square footage charge. I mean, it's significantly, and Bloomington also has a significant difference from us. So a couple of these were a little more than just $50. The rest, plats, I think were raised $75 each. And I think that was it for filing fees. I looked, and for everything being changed, we're still less than what the county and the city charge. Under building permits, I did ask for basically a fine. It's not technically a fine, but a 3-time permit fee for beginning construction without a permit. And this was in our previous building code. I missed it in adopting the new code and would like to have that put back in. Currently, we don't charge, there is no fine or penalty for starting work without a permit. Also, we've had a number of requests for inspections on town holidays and after hours, which I feel we should be charging for because that is outside of what we pay our part-time building inspector. And at these times are asking about would be overtime or holiday pay. Let's see. Another thing I did was add the residential solar installation. It's basically the same as electric. There were some questions about it. It's the same price as the residential electric permits. So that just clarified that a little bit. And looking through this, I think that covered most of the changes I requested. Yeah, so I will take any questions. This also did go before Planning Commission.
Kevin, how much were the fines on the after hours? Or the building permit, starting without a building permit?
Starting without a building permit, it's 3 times the permit fee. And that is the same as it was last year in our old code.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on this?
So Kevin, I guess I'm missing a little bit. You're intending to raise fees so that, and forgive me, this seems a little crude to say it this way, intending to raise fees so at some time in the future, the council can then turn around and give you those fees back into your department. Is that what I'm hearing?
Part of it is to cover the cost of sending out mail and publishing legal notices, which currently we don't do. Currently the applicant does that.
Okay.
So, but we've had a number of issues with that actually getting done correctly. So I would like to bring that back in-house and do that ourselves. So the applicant won't be paying to do that on their own. Instead, we'd add a little bit to our fee to cover our costs. And it actually, I think it might work out in some cases to be cheaper that way. So I think we get a different rate on the legal notices than the general public.
But you would still have to ask for a reappropriation because it's outside your current approved budget, correct?
No, it's already in the budget for next year.
Any further? Go ahead, Scott. Are you done?
No, I was kind of trying to formulate a question. I guess, how is it already in your budget, but now we're just now raising the fees? Or is it in your budget, but you want to raise the fees so we recoup it in the long run?
It's in the budget for next year. It's not in my budget for this year.
So it's for 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
But the fees would actually go back into the general fund, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's
Does
just
that
a way
help
to
you?
offset our increased spending.
Yeah. Does that help you, Scott?
Yeah, quite frankly, I still don't like where we're going with this whole raising of fees. I guess I'd have to hear more before I can really jump on board and supporting it. Just because we're lower in city county now, we want to raise fees just because. And I guess I'm down the road too. We're wanting inspections done on a holiday. I think then the answer is no, we don't do inspections on a holiday. And quite frankly, if you didn't get legal notice in time, that's on you. Your thing doesn't get approved. So I guess trying to be as business friendly as we can, and quite frankly, just overall building friendly as we can, I don't see so far the justification for any of these. If it's already in the budget, but yet now we're trying to recoup it, it's already in the budget.
Kind of agree with Scott on all this. When we approved this, one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that not only be more accessible for businesses getting permits and stuff in-house, but that they'd save a little bit or at least be equal. And I don't know, I think that right now we're trying to do everything we can to attract business and just trying to squeeze out every last dime the way I feel. I really think that I know the solar installation used to be part of electrical. Just for me, I think we should be encouraging that, and I don't think we should charge anything for the permit for solar. But the overall, the fee increase, I'm concerned with. I echo Scott's feelings. I don't like the direction this is going, and we already have a lot of. I mean, Ellettsville, the cost of living for us over in general is a little higher than a lot of other places in the county. And I don't want businesses to say, well, here's just another thing where we're, at least the same, at least before we could say we're a little less here. on one side to offset some of the higher cost on the other side.
This is Michael Farmer. May I speak?
Sure, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so what I heard Kevin say is he wants to do the work for announcements and notices for the people that are required to give notices to ensure proper notification and to take some of the problems that people who don't do it for a living might have, and that all he's trying to do is recoup those costs. That was one of the things I heard him say he was asking to change the fee for, or bring it back in-house, as he said. And then the other thing that really interests me, and I would like to promote, is the ability for him to work out with builders times that are not normal work hours for us, to provide an inspector to do the job that we want done, but to allow a contractor to, lack of a better term, save the day when, let's say, we're not working on a Monday and he set up for Monday and it's going to rain the rest of the week, and not getting a foundation causes him to lose control of a whole week's worth of work, perhaps. And so I've been asking the planning department to be as contractor friendly and developer friendly as they could, to encourage people, or to have people that work in Ellettsville feel like we're trying to help them. And so contractors are never have the ability to predict the weather correctly. Supply and demand these days, they get in line for, say, a pouring for a foundation or a driveway, and if it rains them out, they might be 2 weeks getting back in line. That's how much work's going on out there. And so I don't see a problem. I would ask the board to consider allowing at least that part of what he's asking for fees to be able to ask on holidays or Saturdays or days that, we're not scheduled to work. If the contractors and developers want to pay and get the work done and stay on schedule, and we're willing to work with them, that we should be able to get their, we should be able to recoup the money that we normally wouldn't pay. So it's pretty long-winded, but anyway, that's all I got to say about it.
And can I say something? If the town council is not inclined to accept these ordinances, what you're required to do by statute is to return it to the plan commission, but with specific ideas or suggestions for how to change it, as opposed to saying that you don't approve of certain things. You have to give the plan commission an idea of where you're headed with it, so they can in turn decide whether or not to accept your specific recommendations or what they want to do with it. So,
And I'd like to add, when on mailing out the notifications, it's really good for the planning department to know for sure that every neighbor was notified properly and that the legal notice was done properly. And they would have to pay for certified letters for all these neighbors, and it could easily cost way more than $50 if you had a big lot and several neighbors plus your legal ad. So $50 is a bargain for a developer to get that work done for them. They have to look up all those adjacent property owners and get their addresses and do the mailings and bring the certification mailings back into the planning department. So that's quite a good deal for them. And on the electrical inspection for solar, unfortunately, that does need to be inspected to make sure that it's all properly installed. And not that you're trying to discourage that, but you do want to have oversight on that installation. So I think those things are in line. And I don't think Kevin was saying that we want to charge more because we're want to keep up with our neighbors. He's saying that the development plans have created more work and more detail, and our prices are still, he compared them to let you know that we're still considerably lower than Bloomington and Monroe County.
And I think this all has to deal with too, that, you know, we are doing the inspections now ourselves. And I really see the fines as a part of way, you know, to make sure that the contractor is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and making it easier on the planning department. And I really, I'm in favor of every change he's made too. So I agree with everything that was said, pro for it. Any further discussion? Kevin, would you like to add any more to this?
No, I think that covered pretty much anything I could have said, and Sandy was dead on it. Part of that is to relate to the amount of time, especially development plans that are taking up a lot of our time between plan commission and technical review and meeting on site. They're a very time intensive procedure.
Could I say something?
Wait till we get to the public comment. If you don't
Okay,
mind.
thank you.
Dan, I did need to add,
Thanks,
I
Dave.
wasn't trying to imply we should not do so.
I understand. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-28 to amend section 152.363 of Ellettsville Town Code regarding fees for various permits and applications.
I'll go ahead and second it. Any council questions, comments? Any public comment? Valerie?
Thank you. I was just going to say that when we came here and started our business, we were looking at a place in Bloomington. We had a location there and we had a location here. And we couldn't decide between the two. By the time we got through trying to jump through Bloomington's hoops and died of exhaustion in the process, we found that Ellettsville was much friendlier to deal with, much more user-friendly. And I don't mean, oh, they don't have any restrictions. I mean, they were much more amenable to welcoming a business. And I realized that was 40 years ago, but I would like to think that we always stay that way. So if somebody came to me and said, you have to have this permit and you have to do all of these things, but I'm willing to do them for you for a slightly higher fee, I would take the person who is knowledgeable in doing it in a heartbeat. So if I were starting a new business today and that's what you told me, I'd be willing to pay a little more to have that job done.
Thank you, Valerie. Any other comment? Danny, go ahead.
Yes, in my experience dealing with this quite a bit in my real estate practice, most people hire an attorney to do it for them. Now, no, don't mean to say you shouldn't hire an attorney, Darla, but most ordinary people do. They have to go out and hire an attorney to take care of all this for them. So seems like a bargain to me.
Thanks, Dan. Any other public comment? Okay, I don't see any other. Russ, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, indirectly, doing solar is a whole different kettle of fish than doing something off of a public utility. with both battery storage and voltage control and everything. And I would challenge our technical expertise to evaluate a solar installation. It is a completely different from a storage and voltage standpoint, and having just the whole concept of it is different than a Duke Energy or REMC installation. And I'm concerned about that.
Thank you, Russ. Anyone else? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
No.
William Ellis,
No.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Darla, are you ready for ordinance 2027?
I am, and Mike Kornman and I have been emailing each other, and he, if I'm not saying this correctly, Mike, let me know, but he thinks it may be a moot point. But in any event, section 153.079 of the town code requires a lot owner whose lot abuts in a public street to provide a half right-of-way of 30 feet. The minimum width for a dedicated public right-of-way within a development, including a subdivision, shall not be less than 60 feet for a street, 100 feet outside diameter for a local street cul-de-sac, or an outside diameter of 120 feet for an industrial street cul-de-sac. Arterial streets or streets subject to widening may require a 50-foot dedication from the center line. 153.051 pavement widths says for collector and local streets, the Director of Planning Services uses the street department thoroughfare plan. For a cul-de-sac, it's 80 feet back to back of curb and gutter. The cul-de-sac for an industrial street, 100 feet back to back of curb and gutter.
Thank you, Darla. Okay, I think we second the the motion, so we're back to council comment. Scott, did that answer your question? Was it you that had the question?
Yeah, I think it did. I guess I'm missing the whole moot point thing, Darla, but I'm not sure that it matters after you read that.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I asked the same question at the Planning Commission, Scott, so. All right, any public comment? Russ. Sorry, it takes me a few minutes to scroll through everyone's picture.
Oh, that's fine, Dan. I'll leave one question I'd like to leave for our fire chief. What is the absolute minimum radius of a cul-de-sac required to handle our largest fire rig?
That depends. So it's normally around 106 feet. But the thing to remember that no matter what, the Indiana Fire Code will still trump the local codes, that we have to make sure that all access for fire apparatus can fit in appropriately with the longest apparatus. So I really don't think it's a larger deal than I thought it was.
Okay. But from a planning department standpoint, if a developer proposed an 80-foot diameter cul-de-sac, they couldn't do it.
Theoretically, that's correct.
Okay, Kevin, where does this leave you from a planner standpoint? I'm Mr. Developer. I come in and I want to put an 80-foot cul-de-sac in my residential area. Can I?
I'd prefer if we just did away with cul-de-sacs altogether.
Well, I agree there too, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I think you would have to go for a variance. Is that correct, Kevin?
That would go through tech review and it would be caught then and something would be worked out. I know we had a cul-de-sac, one of our development plans, it was caught at tech review. Any major subdivision, that'll go through tech review and that should be caught then.
I'd like to add that has happened in one particular case where we made arrangements with the developer to make sure that we met the intent of the code. We do want to work with people. We don't want to just, slam us down their throat. So we are easy to work with, and we will continue that, because I am very happy that we get the opportunity for a tech review, something that the county does not do. The fire departments are not included in the plan review process in Monroe County. So we're very happy that we are able to do this, and we can normally catch most of the concerns ahead of time.
Okay, excellent. I'm happy with Mike being happy. That was all I wanted to make sure.
Thank you, Russ. Any other comments? Okay, I am seeing none. Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, there is no old business. Flood report. Anything to report on the flood report?
I have nothing at this time.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we will jump down to new business. First thing, request to place a dumpster in the parking spaces in front of 211 North Sale Street. And who is this?
That would be me. My name's Tim Lewis.
Hi, Tim, go ahead.
Okay, I am the CEO of Midpoint Properties, and we own the facility that used to house the Ellettsville Journal. And we are in the process of marketing that building for sale, and we need to clear out decades worth of stuff that's inside. And it would just help us immensely if we could have a dumpster near the door to facilitate that process.
Okay. How long, Tim, are you going to leave it there?
Well, my hope is that we would have it delivered early in the morning and we would fill it that day and have it gone by the end of the day, because otherwise it's going to become a community dumpster that I don't want to have to deal with.
Okay. Mike, Farmer, can you put something, barricades or something to mark it to make sure that it's clearly marked and everyone sees it?
Sure. Yeah, we could take care of something like that. If the gentleman will call the town clerk's office in the morning and get my cell phone number, when the process starts, we'll help him out.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion?
I would add one other thing, and that is if the disposal service delivers it at something other than a convenient day for us, I'm saying it may, especially if it's over a weekend, it may be there for 3 days. But I think it's 1 to 3 days. But my preference is it be there one day.
Okay, Mike Corman.
Thank you. I'm just curious. I'd like to know, what is the width of the dumpster? Some of these can be as much as 16 feet, and those are only 8 feet widths for the vehicle. So I want to make sure we've got the right amount. I'm not sure what the width of this particular company's dumpster is. I don't think it'd be much more than that, but I want to make sure. And if the council approves it, I do hope you put a sunset, an expiration date of some sort within reason, so to give the Tim a chance to get their project done.
Yeah, I really don't know what the width is, but I'd be more than happy to, if you all want to put a restriction on what we can put in there, I'll find somebody to accommodate.
I just don't want to stick it out in the street.
No, I don't either.
I mean, way out there, So.
Correct. And so it will be setting in the parking spots, right? Correctly on the side of the road?
Yeah, that would be my hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Got 2 spots right there in front of 211. So it wouldn't be taking up anybody else's spots.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Russ?
Yeah, Tim, the material you're disposing of, since that was the Ellettsville Journal, which goes back pre-Civil War, are there any historically significant documents or archives you're disposing of?
Well, actually, I have been working with Monroe County History Center, and they are going to help us glean what's of value, historical significance in there. Of course, I'd say 2/3 to 3/4 of all of that is dumpster worthy, but there is some stuff in there. In fact, just today I saw we had boxes and boxes of negatives going back several decades of pictures. All those are being set aside to be looked at. And then we do have some heavy equipment in there, and that's a biggest concern of how we're going to get the heavy equipment out.
Yes, the heavy equipment is old, old equipment they used to print the newspaper.
Correct.
My concern is the negatives and the photos, because there are some negatives in there I know that go back over 70, 80 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said you're working with the Monroe County history.
Yeah.
Are you not working with the Ellettsville history just down the road from you at all?
Well, actually, yes, I kind of indirectly, because Monroe County History Center said that they work with the Ellettsville History Center.
Okay.
And they said that Ellettsville, their storage facility is not climate controlled, at least according to Monroe County. So if they had to store anything, they'd be storing it in Monroe County anyway. Anyway, we're working with them and trying to salvage what we can. We want to make sure, I think Ellettsville is the logical place for most of it. So we're going to do what we can to maintain and save that stuff.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Tim, Jimmy Durnall, Ellettsville Police Department and History Center. Could you get with me at some point and let me take a look at some of that stuff before we give it up to the Bloomington History Center? Really, that all ours down here before we give it up to them. So, I'll leave my the town hall has my cell number also. If you mind, just to go to get Mike's to get mine also. I need to talk to you about that. I just like to be there when they take it. You know, that so I know where it went.
Actually, Jimmy, I'll make sure you're there before they take it.
Okay. All right. That's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you,
Tim.
Jim.
You're
All right.
very right. You're very correct that climate control is the key, especially for those old negatives. And if you remember, there was a large archive of film and recordings that was lost in a fire in a warehouse at a major California movie studio about 5-6 years ago that wiped out over 100 years of that studio's history. So these old films, especially the negatives, have to be carefully maintained and stored from a fire protect because they are flammable.
Yeah.
I do know that the Ellettsville Main Street did a project with the Journal when it was there, and they scanned a lot of the old photos and, you know, digitized them. So they may have a lot of that stuff already done or preserved.
I know, Sandy, but the question is, how do we know what they've got and what they don't have?
True.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, guys. All right. Seeing no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion. And I might add that we put a time limit and size restraints on the motion.
Yeah, I would move that we approve the use of the dumpster no greater than 8 foot in width and for no longer than 72 hours.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. Any council comment? Any public comment? Seeing none. Sandy, roll call.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Tim. And if you
Thank you,
would,
Dan.
make sure you get with Jimmy and we'll go from there and let Sandy know when the dumpster arrives so we can keep time on it. And Michael
Okay.
come down and put some cones up or something to mark it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next thing on the agenda is request to move utilities employee from laborer 2 to laborer 1. Mike.
Yeah, that'd be me, Michael Farmer. We hired Greg Bargadis some time ago. He was a temporary full-time employee. We moved him to regular full-time employee. And at the time, he did not have a CDL. And part of his agreement to be hired full-time was to get a CDL. So at the time he changed over to regular full-time, he was making $19.46 an hour. And now that he has a CDL it allows us to pay him $23.08 an hour. And I'm just requesting that the board approve me moving him up to full wage.
And it'll change his classification from a laborer 1 to a laborer 2, or vice versa, laborer 2 to laborer 1.
I wasn't aware that we need to reclassify him. I was only interested in getting his pay up to the, I believe it's labor 2 status.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Mr. Farmer's request to move the utility employee from, is it 2 to 1, Mike, or 1 to 2?
It's 2 to 1.
From laborer 2 to laborer 1.
Second.
Motion and second. Any council comments, questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next is to request to move Officer Jared Myers to part-time and hire Jason Brown as part-time police officer. Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate time for the council. My request, as I told you in my email, Jared Myers has decided to move on a full-time job outside the police department, but he's asked to stay on as part-time. And the skills he has as our firearms instructor, we really need him to stay around for a while for that. He's willing to do that. And through that same time, we have been very fortunate that a young man by the name of Jason Brown, he comes from a long line of Browns here in Ellettsville. Judy and Jimmy Brown and Jay or Debbie Brown are his mom and dad and grandparents, and the Brown family goes back in Ellettsville a long time. But he's interested, has been interested for some time being a police officer. He just completed the academy work for IU Police Department. And if you would allow me to bring him on part-time, we'll be swearing him in tomorrow. With his first day of work will be Monday, November the 30th. So we really look forward to Jason coming on. So if there's any questions, I'll entertain those now.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I would move that we approve both of the requests that the chief has made to bring those officers to part-time status.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any council comment, questions?
Yeah, I just
Go ahead.
real quick, Dan, I wanted to thank Jared Myers for his service to our community. I know he had a positive impact on many people's lives, and us as a council, we appreciate his service. Thank you.
I'll pass that along. Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks, Trevor. He has. I've known Jared for quite a while, and he's been a great officer for Ellettsville and still will be, it looks like.
Yes.
So, okay, any further council? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion, or sorry, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. 30-day filing for changes in schedule of rates and charges for the Ellettsville water utility. Mike Farmer, is this you?
Yes, Michael Farmer, Ellettsville Utilities. With some of the new buildings in town, and specifically the new large building that came into town, the size of their fire protection and the size of their domestic water meters were large enough that it made us outgrow our rates and charges, and we actually didn't have anything to cover the rates and charges that we needed.
Hey, buddy.
So we
Congratulations.
asked Baker Tilly to prepare a rate and charge a schedule for not only what we needed for the Key building, but also for future. We wanted to add some other sizes of meters for future growth. And so we have sizes of 6 and 8-inch meters. I think we added a 4-inch fire line and 6-inch fire protection charge. And then we also added a 10 and 12-inch auto sprinkler charge to our rates and charges. So we have to go before the IURC to get these approved. And so Baker Tilly prepares the schedule, presents it to the IURC, and it's called a 30-day filing because it usually goes through without any problems. So these are rates and schedules are what's normal and usual for the industry, and it's just a legal matter. I think Darla, I don't know if Darla prepared a legal notice or Baker Tilly did, but anyway, we're following the IURC procedure to get these rates and charges in our current rates and charges.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion. Anyone?
I would move that we approve the changes and I don't know if it's tracking or 30-day tracking, however you need it worded, Mike, to accomplish this as Mr. Farmer set out.
Yeah, it's a schedule of rates and charges.
Schedule of rates and charges. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any council comment or questions?
Okay, I have more of a question for Mike. So to the average consumer, are they going to see a rate increase, or is this just for specific connections?
Well, when you get up to 4, 6, and 8-inch fire systems or domestic meters, those are specifically for commercial entities, and so this has nothing to do with our residential customers.
Thank you.
Okay, any other council comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Mike. Next on the agenda, engagement letter of agreement for advisory service from Baker Tilly US LLP. Mike?
Yeah, I guess I'll take this, but I'll probably ask for Darla or Sandy to weigh in. This is just a standard engagement letter agreement, and it sets out rates and charges for their staff when they go about these procedures before the IURC. I don't know. I don't know if we're getting a new agreement because we haven't had one for a while. I thought we had one in place in the past, but I can't remember the last time we did something like this. So Darla, Sandy?
Well,
I
on the, go
remember
ahead, Darla. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't remember the last time we signed a Baker Tilly agreement, but I know they send us one roughly every year or so.
Sandy, would you like to comment?
No, I was just going to say that that was the remarks on the email that they wanted to just reaffirm that we want their continued service.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion. You guys are really slow with the motions tonight. Okay.
I'll make it. Hold on, let me find it. I make a motion to approve the engagement letter agreement for advisory services from Baker Tilly US LLP.
I'll second it. Any council comment or questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call?
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, guys. All right, next on the business, new business, COVID personnel policy. Darla, did you
Okay.
come up with something? Or Mike?
Well, I'll start it out. And I talked to Darla today, so I think she's going to help me with this. I'd ask for the COVID personnel policy. We want a resolution to allow the department heads, with the input from the board, of course, to come up with some administrative controls to deal with the COVID. We want to, develop the controls, be able to implement them, and then we want to be able to communicate them to our workforce. And really, it's about protections and flexibilities, and that's regards to being able to continue to work even with the pandemic still going strong, and also protect our workers from harsh conditions because of their health or because of them being out of work. And so it's a little tricky for me. This is not something I normally do, is to deal with the pandemic. But anyway, we're just, we want to actively encourage our workforce to stay home when they're sick, use good common sense when they're out doing their personal business, so it doesn't affect the workplace. And, so anyway, we just want to be able to maintain flexible policies. So I don't know how we get to that, but I definitely think we need a resolution. And one of the, for instance, as we move into cold weather and, of winter, there'll be times when specifically the street department and the utilities will be confined to their work sites, which are rather small, they're heated, not good ventilation. It's one of the reasons we're looking at a new maintenance facility. And so at some point, if the weather's bad for quite a few days in a row, or maybe a couple of weeks in a row, I may want to move them off site and place them even as extreme as send them home and just put them on call, so I still have them if I need them. And so, it's one of my concerns is how do I do that? I talked to the clerk about this, and we think we need a resolution to ensure that we're not doing ghost employment or whatever you call it. So anyway, that's just one of my concerns, but it's things like that where we need, Darla, what do we need?
We need whatever the council wants us to have. So what I spent some time doing was going through some COVID policies, personnel policies that some other municipalities had enacted. And Michael Farmer reminded me that back in March, the town council passed ordinance 1120, I'm sorry, resolution 11/2020, which listed some various policies, such as the town halls closed to the public, essential services. It defined what is termed essential services. It ordered that all non-essential employees were to stay home, and some other things. So I took a look at what some other municipalities are doing, and I don't know that anybody has anything that's a whole lot more detailed than what we have. But just for example, the one I thought that might be a good fit for the town was I looked at Avon's pandemic leave policy. And what we don't have in the resolution is a list of situations describing when an employee can be ordered to stay home. So what Avon has is a section in their code that says if an employee meets the conditions of one of the three classes, the employee will be ordered to stay home. So employee tests positive, shows symptoms, or has been exposed to someone that has the underlying condition, or the employee has traveled to a high risk location. So then the ordinance goes on to say that they will receive their normal compensation based on their average hours. Employee leave will be determined by the town manager or his or her designee or the police department or the fire chief. So that's something we don't have. But a lot of these policies besides that are fairly general. The town of Albion has an order to stay home policy that is similar to Avon's. The city of Huntingburg just basically says if you engage in certain interstate travel or international travel, you're going to stay home. And those are just some of the things that I saw when I was looking around. A couple of the towns reminded employees to follow the restrictions found in the governor's executive orders and the CDC guidelines. The city of Goshen broke down when they could use PTO time or sick hours, sick leave for pay. A couple of the municipalities do have provisions for employees to work from home, but those state that they are to actually work from home. And if they're called in, they need to report to work within 2 hours of being called in. So those are just some ideas for you. If an employee thinks that they're sick, they should report to their supervisor. And then a lot of this stuff the town is already doing. So wear masks, wash your hands, social distance, so on and so forth.
Thank you, Darla. How would the council like to proceed with this?
Can I offer a sample motion and see what you guys think of it?
Yeah, go ahead.
You good with that, Dan?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would move that we establish that the town manager may assign personnel, with the exception of public safety personnel, to either a rotating schedule, a work at home schedule, or an on-call schedule as he or she's fit, meaning the town manager, based upon the needs of the town in order to preserve the town's workforce. And that those individuals who were sent home shall receive their full pay and benefits as if they were working a normal 40-hour week or their normal week. Public safety personnel shall be governed by the chiefs of the various departments, again, with the provision for adequate minimum staffing, and that any employee sent home due to an illness, due to an exposure, or due to suspected exposure, or to preserve the workforce shall again receive their full compensation as normal through their work week.
Okay.
What I would probably think needs to happen, Scott, is for Dolly to take your motion and maybe turn it into a resolution. I mean,
yeah, that's where I was going, kind of going to go on a long run with it.
Yeah.
Because guys, it's not going to be over, and we're going to be doing this for months and months and months. And I don't want to get us into a situation where we're making personnel decisions on the fly, or that a part-time council is trying to second guess a full-time town manager and full-time supervisors about what's best for the employee workforce. I mean, we're here once every 2 weeks. They're here every day. and we've only got a limited number of staff to go around. And Mike individually has got to make sure that we preserve that staffing, even if it means sending some people home to watch Price is Right, so they're available later in the day if we need them.
Right. Darla, are you good with creating a resolution for this and making sure that we're under all the regulations and all the legalities are fine with that motion?
I'll put something together for you.
Darla, can we make it a standing order, whether it be an ordinance or a resolution with basically it's open-ended until we close it?
Open-ended until the council finds or rescinds the declaration of emergency.
Right.
Okay.
Or the governor.
Or the governor does.
Yeah.
Or do you want to stay with the town council?
The only reason I would stay with the town council, Dan, is the governor may come off of it for the entire state and then allow the municipalities that are in hot zones to continue with their own local orders. And I would hate to tie it to his action for the state. Not that I don't think he's doing the right thing for the state, but I think, again, local knowledge is a little, in this case, better than the statewide knowledge.
I'm good with that, as long as maybe we review it as soon as he rescinds his, as soon as he rescinds it, we just review it and decide how we want to go, if we want to further continue with it.
Just don't want to tie it directly to his ends at midnight on a Friday and we're not seen until Monday evening.
Sure, I understand that. Mike, you have something?
Yes, just want to make sure the wording does not conflict with Indiana Code Title 10 on state of emergencies. There could be a situation down the road where we may have a federal state of emergency where we get reimbursement. We don't want to cloud the issue any. That's all I'm suggesting.
Right.
And I think that's why Darla will look at it, and she'll probably get a hold of you, Mike, and maybe even Sandy or anyone else, and help with her ordinance writing abilities or whatever. How does the council feel? Is the council good with this, or would you like to see something else?
Oh, I'm good with it 100%.
Pam?
I'm good with it.
William?
I am too.
Okay. And I'm fine with it. Scott, I'm assuming you're good with it too.
Yeah, I just think, again, we need to put our faith
definitely
with
understand
town
where
managers and our supervisors.
Right. And, he's there. We may not be able to get, we have a meeting every 2 weeks. So he's there and he can make that call right away. And we wouldn't have to call a special session or anything like that.
This is where
session.
This is once again where the council can do more damage by being involved than providing guidance in advance.
True. Okay, darling, you got your homework. How's that? Thank you.
Okay, now Scott put his information in the form of a motion.
I'll
It was
retract
quite
that
long.
motion.
You retract the motion? Okay.
That way Darla can formulate a resolution or ordinance, whatever she prefers.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Well, actually, I'll ask for it. No, if the public would like to comment, they can go ahead and comment, but you'll have the chance to comment when the resolution comes to us.
Dan, let me clarify one other thing real quick.
Sure.
We're going to run this for a longer term, Darla. And maybe, again, it's the council's pleasure, but can we add a line that should an emergency erupt in the future? Again, I'm thinking of blizzards, snows, other things that happen very quickly, that the town manager, with the concurrence of the president, can institute similar measures on an, say, 2-week basis until the council can re-meet again to reinstitute so that way this hangs out here for a longer period of time.
I think we can, and I thought we'd already done that back in March, but I'll look, and if we didn't, I can put some language in there to that effect.
Just that way there's freedom of movement without the entire council having to be available.
Sure.
And we do have in town code about snow emergencies, so you might want.
But it could be something else. Let's just think broad here.
Okay, I'm sure she'll put everything she can into it. Appreciate it, darling.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Health insurance for 2021. Sandy, is this you?
Yes, I just wanted to get your confirmation. We did some changes this year. We were offered some savings, so we kind of jumped on that. We've started our open enrollment period. I was going to look at some information here. Anthem was is our current carrier, and for next year they were proposing a 5.9% increase, and IU Health came back with a quote that was a 28% decrease. So that was a total savings for next year of $109,000. Let's see, about 20,000 of that, 22,000 is savings to the employees and 87,000 to the town. And with that savings, we would like to join the Monroe County Activate Clinic, because going into the IU Health network, you have to use a IU Health provider or you're out of network, which really increases your cost. So the Activate Clinic, you can call and get an appointment there. You can get blood work done there, and they have some prescriptions available, and all of that would be at no cost to the employee. That would cost the town $20,000. And then we propose to raise the life insurance to $50,000. It's currently $20,000. We'd like to raise that to $50,000. And so the town would still be seeing, about a $60,000 in savings. And then we would like to earmark that for any proposed increase in 2022.
Thank you, Sandy. Any further discussion on this?
I just want to say that the Activate Health Clinic, I've used it now since 2012, 2013. It's fantastic. It's most of the medicines, the normal medicines that you get on a everyday basis, they do carry. It would be free. Only drawback is parking, but I think any place downtown has that issue. So, but no, they're pretty good. And would we be participating in their yearly physical program, Sandy?
It is my understanding that you are allowed a yearly physical there, yes.
Well, with the county, if you participate and get a physical yearly, they actually give $100 back. 150. Now, I didn't know if that's part of the program or not.
That at this time, it's not part of the program. The county is self-insured. They're quite a bit bigger.
Yes.
And so this is our first little step into the Activate Clinic. So yeah, it's a nice thing to think about, but we didn't write that into it for this year, 2021.
No need. I just didn't know if that was part of what Activate does, or that's something that the county work with them on. So no.
Yeah, that was with the county.
Okay.
Thank you, William. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Did we already vote on this last time?
No, we wanted to, William wasn't at the special session, and the council wanted to wait till he was here to vote.
Been a long night, sorry.
That's okay.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I will make a motion, or second, whichever you need.
Was there someone else chimed in? I didn't hear.
I said something, but I'll go either way. I don't care.
Okay. Scott first.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any council comment or questions? Again, Sandy, kudos on finding this. I know our company found this for us, but 60,000 is quite a bit of savings, and I think it'd be great to help the employees too with that clinic. So that's good job. Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Pam, you're muted. Muted.
Yes, sorry.
thank you. Motion carries.
All right, next, privilege of the floor. Does anyone in the public have any comments on non-agenda items? Russ?
Good evening. I want to thank the town for its revised website. It looks good. It's very functional. I'd like you to take a look at what Monroe County has done with their website. When you get a list of meetings they are holding, they at the same time on that list give the Zoom data you need to attend those meetings. I would want to know if we could do that with our website where you list meetings. I'll leave that up to Sandy and Denise, but it's very convenient that anybody who wants to look at a meeting, they wouldn't have to bother Sandy and say, how do I get into this meeting? It's right there for them to use. I've visited several of the county's meetings, and having that on the web, that information, they do not seem to be getting any spurious people coming in and trying to disrupt the meeting. It works very fine.
Thank you, Russ. And Sandy, I'm sure she'll look into it. All right, any other public comment? Seeing none, we will jump down to supervisor's comment. Jimmy Durnall.
I'm good, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mike Cornman.
Yes, thank you. This will be like a wildfire. I'll get through it really fast. Speaking of wildfires, I sent communications to everyone about a wildfire that we had this past week, and it was rather big for us. We've not had a call like this in over 40 years. We've not had a call like this in the Ellettsville fire jurisdiction since 1970. These kind of calls don't happen very often. The weather conditions were just right. The thing I want to let the council know that if this kind of fire would happen in the town limits, there are repercussions with the people who started the fire. Unfortunately, in the county, they're limited. So I am working with the Department of Natural Resources, State Fire Control out of Morgan Forest, along with the State Fire Marshal's Office, to see what we can do to remind people that you can't burn, and something as big as this, that you are held accountable. So we are working on that. So I just want to let you know.
Thanks, Mike. How big was the fire again? I can't remember. 28 acres?
It ended up being 28 acres. And the weather conditions were really low humidity, high winds, with the ratio and the aspects with the slopes was something we just don't see very often around here. There was a heavy brush along with a heavy ground cover. That was the key to this one, heavy ground cover. Really spread the fire very fast. So, and we had several departments help us out. 23 firefighters, took about 5 hours. Well, altogether, it took about 6 or 7 hours to get the fire put out. And then we were up all night. The crews were getting the trucks ready for the next run.
Do we put on our website when the conditions are unfavorable for open burn?
No, we do not. Only thing we do is social media. That's something that we'll look at in the future, though.
Yes, definitely. Because I've had people contact me and ask about burning. So
now the burning regulations for the town limits are on there, but the town kind of has a dual purpose outside of town limits in the county. So in Richland Township. So it's kind of a fine line there, but nonetheless, a fire is a fire, and it shouldn't be spreading.
But we can still open burn in the town limits if they're under the right conditions.
There are certain conditions, but if a red flag warning is out, no, they cannot. So
right.
So that is a good point about the website.
Yep, I appreciate that.
A red flag warning just means that the conditions are highly favorable for a small fire to spread rapidly. So.
And I would like you to clarify, Mike, when he said we can burn the city limits, we can't burn trash and debris.
No, campfires is what I was talking.
Yes, okay. I just didn't want to.
The open burning ordinance basically is about social gatherings. If it's not a social gathering, you're not allowed to burn. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is that it, Mike?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And thanks to your guys for taking care of that fire. I know There were several apartments involved in that. Kudos to everyone. All right, Danny Stockett,
I have nothing. I'm good.
Kevin,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mike Farmer,
I'm good.
Sandy, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay, did I cover everyone? Jimmy Durnall, yeah, Jimmy went first. Okay. All right. Now we will move to council comments. Anyone?
I have a question.
Sure.
Sandy, is there any way, like when we do our meetings, that you could put the agenda up? Like at our MPO, they have the agenda on the screen so we can read along and see the resolutions and stuff. So like we may make a motion.
Yes, we can do that. And I have done that in the past. It's just sharing the screen. And if you would remind me at any meeting, I can do that at any time.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's just a matter of thinking about it.
I was thinking while Amber is hosting the meeting, maybe on her screen, she could put the agenda and move along with us. Maybe a thought.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Okay. I'm sure Amber loves that. Amber, you should chime in and say something.
I'll do whatever you guys need me to do.
There we go. First time Amber's talked on Zoom. All right. Seeing no further council comments, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any public comment? Seeing none, Sandy, roll call.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Scott Oldham,
Yes.
William Ellis,
Yes.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Pamela Samples.
Yes.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 8:08.
Thank you, everyone.